So the Oscars are less than a week away as of when I'm recording. So I was doing something where, very original, I rewatched the Best Picture nominees. Now, some of them, I should say, I did not rewatch because stuff like Dune, King Richard, etc., and some others, I've seen them more than 3 times. Or I've seen them 3 times, so I pretty much know how I feel about them. But some movies, like a Belfast, like a Licorice Pizza, Coda, where I only saw them once, I wanted to give them another shot. And that's exactly what I did. I went in, I promise you guys, I went in with the most open mind imaginable. You can ask my friends. I mean, if you follow me, you know that I'm not big on Belfast at all. You can ask some of my friends. I was like, maybe I will like Belfast now. Like, who knows? So I rewatched them and I'm going to rank them for you. Maybe controversial. I don't exactly know. I know there's one movie obviously that's super divisive. Well, I guess now in this state of the awards race, almost every single movie is divisive, but you know what I mean. And FYI, I do have reviews on all these movies on my channel. So you can check them out there. Obviously, that was when I first watched it, but you get the point. Let's start with number 10, Belfast. Okay, so when I first watched Belfast, I was like, I think this movie's okay. Like, I certainly understand the charm. It didn't work for me. Like, the editing, I didn't find that it was great and it really held me back. I did not see I did not feel like the joyous nature that other people were. But I was like, okay, I'm going to rewatch this, like, truly with an open mind once again. I sat down, I watched it. It was worse. I don't know how it was worse on a rewatch, like significantly, but every problem that I had was just like amplified like to the max. The editing remains the biggest issue with me. I really feel like this movie would be so much better if it let more scenes breathe like it does in some areas. The ending does not work for me at all. I think it is very weird, like with Judi Dench, almost like cats at the end. It's just weird. It did not work for me at all. It is like Belfast is by far the worst one out of the lineup. Now, once again, and this is going to be a common theme here, me not liking a movie is not a reflection of the people portrayed in that movie or the people behind the camera, right? I understand this is a reflection of Kenneth Branagh's childhood, how much it means to him and his family, I'm sure, and even the country. I'm not insulting that when I say the movie like just did not work for me at all, okay? I just want to put that out there because I've been seeing some takes on Twitter, absolutely fucking wild. Anyways, Belfast, number 10, not a fan. Let's move on. Coda. It's weird how the major frontrunners outside of The Power of the Dog are my 2 least favorite of the nominees. I guess it's just destiny for me. So Coda is better than Belfast. I rewatched Coda after being pretty unmoved by it the first time. I certainly didn't hate it. I thought it was fine, I thought it was fine. I rewatched it again. It's maybe marginally better than I remember, but it is still fine to me. That's really all Coda has been to me this year, and that's what it is now. Now, once again, I am pretty much dead inside. There are very few movies that really like get an emotional response from me, so like maybe that's just it. But Coda is just, it's fine, like whereas Belfast I actively think is like kind of bad now after that rewatch. Coda, I think, is just fine. It's solid. It's all right. I don't enjoy the first half of Coda, like, at all. I think the first half is, like, kind of bad. But then the second half, I will admit, is where the movie kind of takes off. And the second half is much better than I remember. Having said that, I still don't really like this movie that much. Like, once again, it's okay. Like, it's fine. I actually don't really like the characters surrounding Emilia Jones's character. Obviously, on a technical basis, there's really nothing to like about it, but I understand the appeal and charm of Coda. It's just, I'll admit, I'm not huge on this. If this won Best Picture, I wouldn't be very happy. But then again, when am I ever happy with the Oscars outside of Parasite? And let me repeat what I just said on Belfast. This is not a reflection on the deaf community. I've seen some people use that as a defense of people attacking Coda. No, come on now. We know better than that. You can dislike a movie without disliking like the representation on screen, which is like amazing. So Coda, not for me. Belfast, then Coda. Let's move on. Nightmare Alley. Okay, so here's where we jump up a bit because I do like Nightmare Alley. I love Guillermo del Toro. I think his technical aspects and the hold he has on those technical aspects is fucking amazing. Visually, Nightmare Alley is fucking amazing. Really, this comes down to being too long. This movie is too long. Not only is it 2.5 hours, it feels like it too. If this movie was tighter, a little bit tighter, and you can chop off some scenes, you can make it the pacing goes by a little bit faster, this would probably be a top 10 movie like of 2021 for me. Man, this movie really drags sometimes and it's very meandering. I love the ending. I love a slow burn to a nice payoff, which is essentially what this is. But I mean, it was a slow burn. And honestly, that's what holds me back from this, because even though I do like it, I would rather rewatch some of the other ones. And that's really what holds me back. I still do like Nightmare Alley once again. But if you give me a choice, would I rather watch Nightmare Alley or some of the ones above it? I'd pick the ones above it. Let's keep going. King Richard. So I'm a sports guy. I was a sports guy before a movie guy. And I still am very much a sports guy. Basketball in particular, because basketball is the best sport. But whatever. So some of this does absolutely work for me. It just like, it just hits something in my brain that I enjoy about like sports and the sports movies. Now, having said that, it is very formulaic, insanely formulaic. I don't know why this movie is 2.5 hours long. My dog is going insane. Having said that, this movie is fast paced, even with it being 2.5 hours long. It doesn't drag. It's fun. It's heartwarming. It's kind of like what people talk about with Coda is kind of how I feel about King Richard in a way. I do think Will Smith is very good in King Richard. Listen, if he does go on to win Best Actor, which it looks like he will, I'm not really going to complain about that even if I wouldn't pick him personally. So King Richard honestly just comes down to feeling a little bit basic, even though it is a great true story. But that's fine. I like it. Good movie. Let's move on to the next one. And I think this is where it actually gets controversial maybe. Don't Look Up. Okay, so I don't hate Don't Look Up. In fact, I like it. And you guys probably know that if you guys watch my review. Anyway, I like Don't Look Up. I certainly don't hate it as much as everyone else does. Now, do I think it's like fucking amazing? No, I don't. I just enjoy this movie. I don't know what it is about it. It turns my brain off. And maybe you're being like, well, that's because it's so fucking trash. It like turns your brain off. But I just sit back and I watched it. And I like, especially like with my friends, we're just like kind of laughing. Like Jonah Hill's having a good time. Leo's screaming. Like, it was just kind of an enjoyable experience for me. And I just vehemently disagree with those who are like, the messaging of this movie is so over the top or like it's so on the nose. I'm like, bruh, do we want this message to be subtle? Like, is that what we want? Now, listen, there are certainly problems with it, which is why it's at this spot. Like, the editing is like fucking insane. It is way too long. I feel like I'm saying that too much now. There are scenes in here where I'm genuinely like, what does this add to the story? Like, please cut it down. Like, sure, there could be some eye roll moments, but honestly, I just don't care at this point. Like, I don't know what it was, but like, I would rather watch this than like some of the others behind, you know? Like, it was fun. It was fun for me. That's all I can really say about it. Now, do I understand if people fucking hate this movie? I do. I'm just not one of them. Let's keep going. Licorice Pizza. I rewatched Licorice Pizza, and this is one that slightly went down for me. Just a little bit. Now, Alana Haim is amazing in this movie. I 100% stand by that. I do love how just like kind of chill vibes it is, you know, and like people are just kind of going through, they're just running. They make, you know, PTA makes running look so fucking cool. But I found that I was watching it and I was really loving it more than I thought I would at home. And then it was right when we hit the Sean Penn part of the movie, I felt like I hit a wall and it really dragged for me. And then I was like, yo, I kind of want to like get past this part, because right after that, then like Bradley Cooper comes in and the gas station and the truck, and then it keeps going again. But the Sean Penn part really just distracted me. Now, I obviously have thoughts about the Asian shit as someone who is fucking Asian. And I don't know if I like want to get into that. Like, it's been talked about so much. Regardless, like, that doesn't affect my viewing of the movie, because like I understand what he's going for, while also understanding that something like that can be perceived as like dangerous, you know. But like, I don't want to talk about that. Licorice Pizza, I definitely liked it. I liked it a little bit less because I think the Sean Penn part of the movie, like it flowed better for me when I first watched it versus now, where I felt like it really dragged and hit a wall. So that moves a little bit down. Having said that though, I still really like this movie. Keep going. Power of the Dog. Okay, top 4 is really tough for me. And maybe I'll regret this after. I rewatched Power of the Dog. I would only seen it once. And my experience with that was I watched it for the first time, and immediately afterwards I was like, I don't know. Something about it didn't really hit right. And then it just stayed with me and stayed with me and stayed with me, and it grew in my head. And I rewatched it, and this movie's great. This movie is amazing, guys. Like, I genuinely noticed stuff that I did not notice before. The littlest, smallest details that I did not notice before, Jane Campion really said, like, I got this. Like, I'm the captain, motherfucker. Like, this movie was fantastic. It has some of the best performances. You guys know that I personally would vote for Benedict Cumberbatch. I think he's unbelievable in this movie. And really, it's at number 4 at this slot just because I just straight up like the other ones more, and you're like, duh. But like, there's no real negative for me with The Power of the Dog. This movie's great. I understand if people don't really like it because it is like a very slow burn. But for some reason, this movie is like just so hypnotic and captivating that I really, really like it. This would be a good Best Picture winner if it does go on to win, which who knows at this point. But Power of the Dog, fire. Drive My Car. I actually talked about Drive My Car on the Next Best Picture podcast, so you guys can actually go to that if you want. I also did review it here. What more do I really need to say about Drive My Car? This movie is like an achievement in a way, and a different kind of achievement than Dune and stuff. But adapting the story, making it 3 hours long, I was like, hell no. I sometimes really do struggle with slow cinema, especially at home, which is where I had to watch it. And yet for 3 hours, where it's mostly dialogue, a take on grief, the creative process, Uncle Vanya, the movie flew by. It was so interesting. Like, the monologues in this movie are so amazing. My friend watched it and he was like, damn, that shit was fucking good. And I was like, fuck yeah, it's good. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this. Drive My Car. I'm so glad it actually got nominated for Best Picture. It is insane. Let's give the Academy credit there, considering it didn't get any other precursors, really, in terms of Best Picture. Fire. Absolute fire. We need to move on. West Side Story. The top two are interchangeable like by day, honestly. West Side Story. I'm not huge on the original movie from the 60s. I think it's solid, whatever. I understand people's problems with it, obviously. All I heard leading up to it was, why do we need this? This movie's gonna be trash. And then the controversy and allegations with Ansel Elgort came up, and I was like, oh my God. And it got delayed, obviously, with COVID, and I watched it, and it really blew me away. I am not a musical guy. And I know everyone who's not a musical person feels the need to point that out, but I do feel like it's important here because I'm not a musical guy. I find a lot of musicals have the same problems. But this one, though, genuinely, there's like fucking magic in here. Yo, there's magic in this movie. I cannot believe some of the nominations it missed. The Tonight Quintet. Bro, where's the editing Oscar, man? And the cinematography, dude. Ansel Elgort stands in a puddle, and I was like, okay, well, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever fucking seen in my life. I'm like tearing up right now just thinking about it. There's actual magic in here. It is amazing. I genuinely am surprised how much I love West Side Story. Now, there is a story thing that is with all the West Side Stories, because it is, very Romeo and Juliet, that I still struggle to get behind. And I know they have to kind of obey that if they want to follow along. But that is what kind of just makes me go like, eh. But I mean, my God. Steven Spielberg, Arizona's own. We claim him. I know he wasn't born here, but he was raised here, and that's what counts. All right. Number 1, Dune. Now, I struggle with this. Like I said, Dune and West Side Story do kind of go back and forth. But when I keep thinking about Dune, in the world I was put in by Denis Villeneuve and his whole creative team, I just want to be there forever. And I just can't wait for Dune Part 2. I loved what they did with this. I did not read the books. You guys know that. I don't fucking read. And I heard that book is insane to read. Maybe I'll try eventually. That's a lie. I'm capping. I'm definitely not going to. But it was amazing. And like the visual effects and the story, the political warfare, the drama. I mean, it is not like a blockbuster that you think you've seen before. Like, if you really think about it, this movie ends with like a one-on-one hand-to-hand combat fight, like, and not like a Spider-Man Green Goblin, No Way Home type of fight. And then there's the slow motion shot of him walking as everyone's touching his shoulder. I mean, shit like that. I was like, come on now. Now, obviously, this is a part 1, and people have complained that it just kind of ends. And like, yeah, it kind of just ends. I mean, it is a part 1. Personally, that doesn't really affect me. That's not like, ugh, because of that, like, I put it lower. Honestly, I don't really care. I just fucking love Dune. I think it was amazing. Every aspect of it is fucking damn near flawless. I loved it, and that's that. All right, those are my Best Picture nominee rankings. You guys gotta let me know how you guys rank them all, okay? And remember, this is just opinions, okay? We don't need to freak out about this. See, I just finished a video, and now I'm already rethinking my fucking rankings. I need to just end this video right now.